for a political dinner. Tomorrow morning, the president will host the second cabinet meeting of the year and the 11th cabinet meeting of his second term. And later tomorrow afternoon, the president will host a Greek Independence Day celebration in the East Room. On Friday, the president will celebrate National Agriculture Day alongside nearly 1,000 farmers who are coming in from across the country for the first event of the season on the South Lawn, so pray for good weather, to highlight the president's successful policies in support of America's farmers, including efforts to lower input costs, open new trade markets, bolster the farm safety net, double the death tax exemption, end taxes on rural property loan interest, and create rural opportunity zones. Also, I'm pleased to announce that President Trump's meeting and a long-awaited meeting with President Xi in China will now take place in Beijing on May 14th and 15th. First Lady Melania and President Trump will also host President Xi and Madam Peng for a reciprocal visit in Washington, D.C. at a later date to be announced this year. Turning to the ongoing military operations in Iran, the United States military continues to decimate the terrorist Iranian regime's offensive and defensive capabilities. Just over 3 weeks in, it's abundantly clear that Operation Epic Fury has been a resounding military triumph. More than 9,000 enemy targets have been struck to date. Compared to the start of the operation, Iran's ballistic missile attacks and drone attacks are down by roughly 90%. The United States is also annihilating the Iranian regime's navy. We have destroyed more than 140 of their naval vessels, including almost 50 mine layers. This is the largest elimination of a navy over a 3-week period since World War II. Again, let me reiterate, this is the largest elimination of a navy on the face of the planet in a 3-week period since World War II. We are systematically dismantling Iran's defense industrial base, which will prevent future threats to the region. Our military also remains laser focused on eliminating the regime's threat to the free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz. Over the weekend, we dropped several 5,000-pound bombs on an underground facility used to store equipment, including anti-ship cruise missiles and mobile missile launchers positioned along the coastline of the strait. Our military efforts grow more successful with each passing day, steadily degrading Iran's ability to terrorize merchant ships. For all of these reasons, we are very close to meeting the core objectives of Operation Epic Fury, and this military mission continues unabated. From the outset, President Trump and the Department of War estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve this critical mission. 25 days in, the greatest military the world has ever known is ahead of schedule and performing exceptionally. Day by day, the Iranian regime is being crippled, and their ability to threaten the United States and our allies is being significantly weakened. Their ambitions of building a nuclear weapon have also been crushed to an even greater degree than they were in Operation Midnight Hammer in June 2025. That's why you're beginning to see the regime look for an exit ramp. They recognize they are being crushed, their ability to attack American and allied forces, as well as their ability to defend their own territory is dwindling literally hour by hour. Following President Trump's powerful threat on Saturday evening, it was made clear to the United States that Iran wanted to talk. President Trump is willing to listen. As President Trump announced on Monday, the United States has been engaged over the last 3 days in productive conversations, which led the president to temporarily instruct the Department of War to postpone planned strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure only. The remaining elements of the Iranian regime have another opportunity to cooperate with President Trump, permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions, and cease actively threatening America and our allies. But the president's preference is always peace. There does not need to be any more death and destruction. But if Iran fails to accept the reality of the current moment, if they fail to understand that they have been defeated militarily and will continue to be, President Trump will ensure they are hit harder than they have ever been hit before. President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again. Their last miscalculation cost them their senior leadership, their Navy, their Air Force, and their air defense system. Any violence beyond this point will be because the Iranian regime refused to understand they have already been defeated and refused to come to a deal. Here at home, we are now on day 40 of the Democrats' shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Democrats in Congress are forcing American travelers to wait in hours-long lines at airports across the country, robbing TSA officers and other federal workers of their hard-earned paychecks that they use to feed their families, and causing billions of dollars in damage to our economy. A father of 3 recently told CBS News that he felt he had no other choice but to quit his job as a TSA officer and find other work as the Democrats' shutdown of DHS continues. This is the quote from the father, and I encourage everyone to listen. "I think the hardest thing is seeing the struggle that my wife was going through and not trying to bring more stress to her," the father of 3 said, "but seeing her cry every night, how am I going to feed my family? How am I going to survive?" For the Democrats in Congress, the cruelty of this shutdown is the point. Nearly 500 TSA officers have quit since the Democrat shutdown began. President Trump, to alleviate this pressure, made the decision to send some of our amazing ICE agents to help alleviate that stress and address the long wait times. And for all of the critics of this solution a few days ago when it was proposed by the president, it is yielding results. Wait times have improved since ICE arrived, and they are doing everything in their power to help their fellow federal service members. But it's important to take a step back and remember, why is this even happening in the first place? For nearly 6 weeks, Democrats in Congress have kept DHS shut down because they care more about illegal aliens than American citizens. You have Democrat elected representatives in states across the country who are willing to inflict massive pain on their own constituents to fight for illegal aliens who broke our nation's laws to come here. In recent days, we saw the deadly consequence of this deranged policy of Democrat open borders and an illegal alien first agenda. A beautiful 18-year-old girl, Sheridan Gorman, she was shot and killed in Chicago last Thursday morning while walking in a park with friends. The suspect in custody for murdering her is a Venezuelan illegal alien who was caught and released at the border by the Biden administration in May of 2023. Why would the Biden administration catch and release a Venezuelan illegal alien? That is not happening anymore under this president. But there are still tens of thousands, if not millions, of these illegal aliens in our country who seek to do harm to innocent Americans, like this beautiful young woman whose family will now never be the same because of her death. To make matters even worse, this monster was also released from local custody again after a shoplifting arrest, where? In the sanctuary city of Chicago in June of 2023. Again, another innocent American citizen had her life stolen from her because Democrats embrace reckless open border policies and reckless sanctuary city policies which put criminals back into American communities. How many more Americans have to die before the Democrats end this madness? President Trump's position is very clear. He wants the federal government opened, he wants the Department of Homeland Security funded, and he wants the Democrat shutdown to end immediately. The president will also continue to call on Democrat leaders in sanctuary cities and states like J.B. Pritzker, where this young, beautiful girl was murdered, to cooperate with ICE and stop releasing illegal alien criminals into American neighborhoods. It is for the safety of every American citizen, including all of the people in this room. With that, I will take your questions, and here in our new media seat today, we have Gabe Fleischer.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks, Gabe, for being here.
Thank you. I have 2 questions for you. First, if the war in Iran continues past this current round of peace talks, and with thousands of troops on their way to the Middle East, is there a point, either a number of ground troops or a number of days, at which the president will consider seeking authorization from Congress?
Well, as you know right now, that formal authorization from Congress is not necessary because we're currently in major combat operations in Iran. The Department of War and the President, as I said, estimated about a 4 to 6 week timeline for the full completion of these military combat operations. We're again on day 25 today. And as a courtesy, nevertheless, the administration did notify Congress, the Gang of 8, ahead of the launch of the operation 25 days ago. And we've also had our top national security officials go to Capitol Hill to brief lawmakers, again, out of courtesy and out of respect for them. So at this moment, it's unnecessary, but of course, President and this administration will always abide by the law. Gabe, or do you want to follow up?
Yes.
Sure, go ahead.
Second question. In my reporting, speak a lot to young voters, many of whom voted for President Trump for the first time in 2024, hoping to have no more wars and to have lower prices. Now, with the war taking place and with gas prices going up, Curious what President Trump's message would be to those voters who kind of swung into his coalition in 2024, but maybe don't feel the administration's going as they had expected.
President Trump is doing this for you. He's doing this for young people so that we are no longer threatened by a rogue terrorist regime in the Middle East that seeks to kill the brave men and women who serve in our country in the Middle East, many of them young people themselves, young men and women who serve this country honorably in uniform and have been threatened, killed, and maimed by the rogue Iranian terrorist regime for 47 years. President Trump finally had the courage to step up and do what's right by our national security, our homeland security. As for the temporary short-term fluctuation in gas prices, the president has said once these combat operations are over, this administration is going to continue to unleash American energy dominance. We're continuing to do that every day, and we're going to see prices at the pump go back down, just as we have over the past year because of this president. And don't think for 1 second if the Democrats had their way, gas prices would be as they were under the previous administration, the Biden administration, record highs. This president is keeping them as low as he can during this short-term combat operation, and they're going to go right back down when this is over. Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Just within the past few hours, Iranian state TV has said that Iran has rejected the U.S.'s 15-point plan to end the war. What's the White House's response to that, and have these talks hit a dead end?
They have not. Talks continue. They are productive, as the president said on Monday, and they continue to be. However, I saw a 15-point plan that was floated in the media. I would caution reporters in this room from reporting about speculative points or speculative plans from anonymous sources. The White House never confirmed that full plan. There are elements of truth to it, but some of the stories I read were not entirely factual. So I am not going to negotiate on behalf of the president here at the podium. What I will tell you is these talks are ongoing. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty details that have been exchanged between the United States and Iran at this time.
Well, yesterday the president mentioned a very big present that the Iranians had given the U.S. He wouldn't go into detail, but was it that ship that was carrying 2 million barrels of oil that made it from the state of Hormuz?
I'll let the president speak on that at the appropriate time.
And then finally, Caroline, today Iraq's government reportedly is planning to lodge a protest with the U.S. According to the Wall Street Journal. There was an attack in Iraq that hit a military clinic, killing 7 soldiers reportedly. What's the U.S.'s response to that? Was the U.S. responsible for that attack?
I'll have to check in with the Pentagon on that, and we'll get you an answer.
Thank you, Caroline. Two, if I may. Speaker Johnson today described the conflict as wrapping up, but the 82nd Airborne Division, they're typically deployed at the beginning of conflicts. So does the White House consider this conflict as wrapping up, or is it changing shape?
As I said at the beginning of my remarks, we are meeting our goals of Operation Epic Fury expeditiously. The president likes to maintain options at his disposal. It's the Pentagon's job to provide those options to the commander-in-chief. For any specifics on troop deployments, though, I would point you to the Pentagon.
And today, Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner reiterated threats to potentially arrest ICE agents that were sent in to assist with these historically long TSA lines. He said, quote, "The president cannot pardon you." Has the president seen Krasner's comments? Does he have any response?
The president cannot pardon you for what? He's talking to the ICE agents who are handing out water bottles and are helping people move through lines at airports. It's a disgraceful comment. The men and women of ICE are great people. I would encourage this lawmaker, whose name I don't know and don't care to know, to actually sit down and speak with the ICE agents who are on the ground doing this important work, not just in our nation's airports, but again, to remove violent, dangerous, illegal alien criminals from our country, to protect this individual and all of us in this room and Americans across the country from murderers, pedophiles, and rapists who have been allowed into our country by Democrat politicians. Mario, good to see you.
Thank you, Caroline. Good to see you as well. Just given that the president postponed his original trip to China because of the war, should we infer that the war will be wound down and concluded by the time of that May 15th, 14th visit?
Again, as I've said, we've always estimated approximately 4 to 6 weeks, so you can do the math on that, Mario, but we do look forward, I know the president looks forward to going to China on May 14th and 15th, and of course, as always, we'll provide additional logistical details to all of you in the media for that trip, who I know look forward to coming with us as well.
Follow-up. Was that a precondition? Did the two leaders speak about the conclusion of the war? Was that a precondition for them to have this rescheduled meeting?
No, there was a discussion about the rescheduling of the meeting between the president and President Xi. President Xi understood that it's very important for the president to be here throughout these combat operations right now. He understood, obviously, the request to postpone and accepted it, which is why we have new dates on the books, and I'm happy to announce those to you today. Jennifer.
On the negotiations with Iran, are there still face-to-face talks planned perhaps in Pakistan? And who do you think would probably be going?
Again, I've seen a lot of speculation and reporting about potential talks that could happen later this week. Nothing should be deemed official until it is announced formally by the White House. I would not get ahead of our skis on reporting about any talks this weekend until you hear directly from us.
That all of the allies will go along with whatever the U.S. concludes with these Iranians? Are you expecting that Israel and all the other allies will follow whatever agreement is made?
I think the president has shown that he is absolutely the leader of the free world, the head of the most powerful military in the world, and various examples of the 12-day war between Iran and Israel, the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza. The president has shown a very unique skill at getting our allies to get on board with what's in the best interest of the United States, but also the world in cases of foreign policy like this. Ed.
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn. So, is there a time frame as to when the first oil tanker can go through the Strait of Hormuz freely?
It's a very good question, Ed. I don't have a specific timeline for you today, but it's obviously something the administration is working towards as quickly as we can. And with respect to oil, as you know, the administration has taken a number of actions to stabilize the markets. We directed the U.S. DFC to offer reasonably priced political risk insurance for takers through the strait. We issued that temporary waiver to allow countries to purchase sanctioned Russian oil to alleviate global pressures. We're working with the IEA to coordinate the release of another 400 million barrels. We issued that 60-day Jones Day Act waiver. And then just today, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, if you missed it, in consultation with the Department of Energy, announced a temporary emergency fuel waiver to allow nationwide sales of E15, gasoline blended with 15% ethanol, to remove all federal impediments to selling E10 gasoline across the country. The emergency fuel waiver will temporarily waive the summer low volatility requirements and blending limitations for gasoline to provide additional flexibility to the fuel marketplace. So as far as tankers through the strait, something we're tracking very closely, but obviously the administration is coming up with creative new solutions by the day to keep the price of oil stable, something the president wants to see. And I know Secretary Bessent, Secretary Wright, Secretary Burgum, EPA Administrator Zeldin are all working together closely to find ways to do that.
In that 5-day timeline for pause in operations, would a tanker going through the Strait of Hormuz be one of the conditions that he would extend that?
That's only something the President of the United States can answer. I won't get ahead of him.
Can I ask you about the TSA lines? Are the TSA lines, we've all seen the video of that from various airports, is that going to be what ends the stalemate in Congress to get DHS funded?
Well, look, it's the Democrats who have led to this stalemate over the past 6 weeks. The president and the Republicans' position has been very clear. Fund the Department of Homeland Security. And we have attempted in good faith numerous times, both the president himself and lawmakers on the Republican side on Capitol Hill, to go to the Democrats with reasonable offers, with real solutions. They'll ask for something, we'll give them that concession, and then they say, oh wait, that's not enough, actually. So I think that's why I said earlier, the cruelty is the point. They want this chaos. They want to distract, I think, from the success of our military overseas right now, totally obliterating the Iranian regime. And it's very unfortunate because there's only, the only people that are suffering from this are the American people. And I hear that Democrats might be flying out of town tomorrow. How convenient and lovely of them that they get to go to the airport and that they'll get to go home to their families when you have families, TSA workers who are suffering. You have people across the country who are missing flights for funerals and for work commitments because of Democrat politicians on Capitol Hill. Mary, in the back.
Thanks,
Glad
Caroline.
to see you have a seat now.
I do. Thank you. Is the White House satisfied with Republican leadership's efforts on the Save America Act?
I think the president has made it very clear. He wants everyone on Capitol Hill to move as quickly as possible to get the Save America Act passed, and he wants to see that legislation on his desk as soon as Republicans and Democrats can move to pass it.
But are there any lawmakers in Congress that the president is frustrated with on this matter and feels could be doing a better job?
I think the president wants to see everybody on Capitol Hill move faster all the time. That he wants everyone in this town to work at Trump speed like we do here at the White House. I'll go to Karen.
Two questions on Lebanon, if I can. Is the U.S. providing support at this point for Israel's ongoing offensive in Lebanon? And is the president concerned that right now there are more than 1 million people who've been displaced and potentially could be for a significant amount of time?
That's not something I'm in a position to comment on for the first question. To the second question, of course, that's something that would concern the president. I think that's why he's again quickly moving to eliminate the threat of the Iranian regime in the Middle East, including weakening their proxies like Hezbollah, who have terrorized Lebanon for far too long. And I know that the president wants to see this again move as quickly as possible as we can over the course of the next couple of weeks here.
Question on the Strait of Hormuz. If his negotiations are not successful, is the only option to reopen the strait in boots on the ground, given that all of our allies have essentially said that they are unable or unwilling to help?
Look, that's a hypothetical question. It's a hypothetical question. It's also a decision that would have to be made by the commander-in-chief, and I'm not going to get ahead of him.
And in addition to that, when it comes to the Vice President, J.D. Vance, what has changed that has made him more of an active participant in these negotiations with Iran?
I don't think anything has changed. The vice president has always been a key member, the president's right-hand man, and a key member of the president's national security team. He's been part of these discussions throughout this entire course of the administration with respect, again, to the 12-day war that the president and his national security team negotiated a solution to, with respect to the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza and the release of the hostages, which there was a lot of criticism that couldn't get done, and it did. The vice president has been by the president's side every step of the way, and any reporting otherwise is just completely false. I see him in the room. Again, the president seeks his counsel on all matters, both foreign and domestic.
Can you just tell us who exactly the U.S. is negotiating with in Iran, and why the U.S. and this administration trusts that person?
Again, as I said to Gabe's question earlier, we're not going to get into the details of these negotiations and conversations that continue to take place. As of course you can imagine, they are very sensitive diplomatic discussions. And I would reiterate, I do recall giving all of you the same answer when we were negotiating the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza. I gave you the same answer throughout the 12-day war between Iran and Israel. Gave you the same answer with respect to many of the other global conflicts that this administration has negotiated solutions to. President Trump is going to give his diplomats the freedom that they need to have these sensitive diplomatic discussions without negotiating and litigating them through the news media. Fran.
Caroline, just to follow up though, because you said that some of the information that's been out there about the 15-point plan is inaccurate. Can you say what is accurate with respect to ballistic missiles, the nuclear ambitions, and the Strait of Hormuz, which are things that the president has laid out that he wants to see a couple times in the past?
Look, if you've heard it from the President of the United States, obviously it's true, as well as the objectives of Operation Epic Fury. We've said repeatedly, I've said them from this podium, the Pentagon has reiterated them. That's why we've taken military action to achieve them. So of course, those are goals that we want to see, but this full 15-point plan that's been floating around in many of your outlets, there's a lot of misinformation to that as well. And again, I would caution you from taking things from anonymous sources rather than verifying them directly with the White House. Christian.
Thanks, Caroline. Two on Iran. First, would the president consider loosening asylum restrictions for Iranians trying to flee the country right now?
Again, that's a question for the president. I won't get ahead of him on that. I haven't talked to him about that.
And then secondly, you mentioned at the top that Iran would be hit harder than they have been to this point if they don't recognize the fact that they're losing this war. Could those strikes happen before this 5-day negotiating window closes if the president doesn't think they're negotiating in good faith?
You're asking me to tell you if the commander-in-chief would authorize very strong strikes against the Iranian regime. That's not something I would ever reveal from this podium, true or not. Bill.
Thank you, Caroline. I was wondering if you would respond to some of this criticism of the administration from past allies like Joe Kent, who have said that the president's red line shifted from Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon to Iran cannot pursue nuclear enrichment. What is the administration's response to that criticism?
I think the president and I have both strongly responded to the criticism by Mr. Kent, who unfortunately resigned in disgrace and accused the president of basically being controlled by foreign countries and foreign manipulation, which is a ridiculous and laughable assertion. So his accusations have zero credibility as far as this White House is concerned.
The question of the red line shifting from no nuclear weapon to no nuclear enrichment, is there any substance to that argument?
I think the president has been quite clear in what he wants to see from the Iranian regime, which is why he chose to launch Operation Epic Fury in the first place. Reagan.
Caroline, I have a question for you on the SAVE Act, and then I'd like to follow up on the DHS shutdown.
Sure.
First, Senator
The
Mike
Save
Lee-
America Act.
Save America Act, the president corrected me yesterday, that was my fault. Senator Mike Lee said it's essentially impossible to pass the Save America Act through reconciliation. What's your reaction to that? Is the president worried that that strategy might fail?
I think he's willing to try all strategies. I spoke with him about this yesterday, and he said if we can make it work through reconciliation, let's absolutely do that. These, again, are common sense policies that are backed by the vast majority of voters across this country. The only people in this country who don't support them are politicians on Capitol Hill, and you all should ask them why they don't want voter ID, why they don't want proof of citizenship to vote in our nation's elections. Again, these are common sense proposals that are wildly popular, and the president is willing to use any means necessary to get this legislation passed and onto his desk.
And then on the DHS shutdown, do you expect deportations to decrease while ICE is in the airports? And what are the trade-offs of having ICE in the airports right now?
Well, to address this obviously short-term problem and the chaos that has been sowed by these Democrats on Capitol Hill, to address the lines and to get Americans traveling and get them to where they need to be. So the president, I think this was a creative solution, again, that was criticized, but we have seen wait times decrease, not as much as we'd like. Hopefully they will continue to, but at major airports over the course of the last few days as ICE has been facilitating with travelers in these airports. Sure,
Thank you, Caroline. On March 6th, the president said in an interview with Reuters that the U.S. should have a role in choosing Iran's next leadership. Now that we're almost 4 weeks into the operation, is that still the president's assessment of where it should go?
As I've said repeatedly, I think the president obviously believes the United States wants to have someone in leadership position in the Iranian regime that will be much more favorable, that will be willing to work with the United States, that will no longer chant death to America. These would obviously be good common sense things for the United States and for our allies. And I think that's what the president meant when he spoke with Reuters that day. Go ahead.
The president yesterday said that he had achieved regime change in Iran because the regime has changed. In terms of,
I mean, has it not?
well, the leadership.
Their entire leadership has been killed, and nobody has really seen or legitimately heard from this alleged new leader. So wouldn't you say there's been a change in the regime?
There's been a change in leadership. I mean, do you
There's been a
feel
change
as
in the
though?
regime leadership, which is what the president said. So thank you for confirming he was right.
Do you feel as though you've achieved leadership level, or the personnel in place right now in Iran that you're satisfied with? I mean, have you?
I think it's too soon to say.
In terms of highly enriched uranium in Iran right now, is your expectation, I mean, the stated desire of the president has been to prevent nuclear weapons. Is your expectation that the end game here is that eventually Americans will be in possession of that uranium, or you'll somehow have some direct control over the highly enriched uranium that could be used to develop it?
Again, this is a point of conversation that continues. I think you know the means in which the United States would have to take in order to achieve that goal, and that's a decision for the president to make. Brian, good to see you, Brian Glenn.
Good to see you as well. Does the White House have a comment on a letter that was sent from Congressman Raskin to the DOJ alleging that the DOJ recklessly released damning information in regards to President Trump's documents?
Yes, I saw that letter from Congressman Raskin this morning, who I would add has zero credibility, and this letter was clearly a cheap political stunt. What the congressman did here, Brian, and for everyone in the room who's hopefully not reporting on this as fact, is that he took untrue and salacious claims in a memo that was produced by Jack Smith, who has been completely discredited for his lawfare and his witch hunts against this president, and that information was unverified. It never even made it into the indictment because it was so unverified. And what happened to that indictment anyway? It was thrown out. And Jack Smith has been proven, again, to be a prosecutor on a witch hunt against President Trump. He tried to throw him in jail ahead of the 2024 election. The Biden Department of Justice was fully on board with this lawfare campaign. And in fact, this story that was concocted by Congressman Raskin was so ridiculous. I understand his communications team reached out to some outlets in this room who responsibly said, we're not going to write this because this is just too much. However, of course, MS Now did write that story this morning because they continue to be left-wing propaganda for the Democrat Party. But I think Jack Smith has been proven to be a liar and a fraud. And this is, again, a cheap political stunt from a Democrat on Capitol Hill who I think wants to get himself on cable television. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
That's it. That's it. Wow, she said a lot. Hi, my name is Cindy, and this is Speak the Truth 2.0. Thanks for joining us. We want to go to the poll question. Do you support ICE replacing TSA agents at the airport? 41% said yes, and 59% said no. So right now, unless you're traveling, I guess you're not being burdened by the long lines. So you got to have a solution, and that's what a leader is. A leader is supposed to remedy problems. That's the job of any leader in corporate America, at the White House. So their remedy is to get the ICE agents who are being paid by our taxpayer dollars, and who's better to put there other than TSA agents. They are already qualified. They handle security, national security. So you should be grateful that if you're flying out, I'm glad they're there. Yeah. Because you have people that are in this country that have wrong intentions, and you don't want to be on that plane, and you don't want them to get through the checkpoints that put you at risk while you're flying. The United States is not the same as it was 4 years ago when we didn't have open borders. So we're living in a different time, so we have to adjust. So I believe having the ICE agents there, you're more protected because you have all sorts of people that's boarding the planes that are dangerous, that are flying, and they are not required to show ID. They're stealing ID. All kinds of stuff that's going on. You don't know who you sitting next to.
Michael, what she said, what's not true about what she just said? He's saying like we haven't flown much.
Yeah, I fly. We fly. Right now I want to go to Japan, but everything's kind of crazy right now. But I do, hopefully I'll get there this year. But the thing about it is that anybody that flies, they know how it is to go through those checkpoints to board your plane. So right now, you have people that have been working without receiving a paycheck that are quitting their jobs. And they're doing other jobs. So they're unable to be there. So who are you going to have there? Nobody?
Michael,
we just going to let everybody get on the plane?
Michael, look what happened with 9/11.
9/11.
That's all I have to say. Look what happened with 9/11.
How many people, a handful of people, took out the World Trade Centers, tried to attack the Pentagon. All this stuff happens, and 9/11 was an example. Now, that was, 19 terrorists, and now we got 350 terrorists, and we got 2.5 million gotaways that's in this country, and they don't know where they at. And the FBI, Homeland Security, everybody is saying that they are going to attack inside this country. They just don't know when. Okay? So you don't want to be on the airport trying to, they're rushing you through because they don't have the proper staffing, and you have someone getting on that plane that have the wrong intentions.
Yeah, Praying said he heard it's getting a little bitter at the airport.
That's great. That's what people should be happy about. And as a leader, you want your leaders to act. What else are they supposed to do? Right now, I think that the Democrats left Congress, so there's nobody there to even vote, so these people can't get paid. Imagine you're expected to go to work. You don't have money, gas money to get to work. You don't have money for food while you're there, and nobody's giving you money, but you're supposed to still show up. How long can they last? And then they still got their mortgage, their rent, their car notes, their insurance, their water bill, light bill. They got sewer bills. They got every kind of bill, and taking care of their kids. The kids got to eat. Kids got school trips. You need money for everything. And they're not getting a check at all. And most Americans live from paycheck to paycheck. So they're already, after missing one paycheck, they're already underwater. But I think until this partial shutdown is over with, you should feel safer, at least having the ICE agents at the airport. So if you got people that are here illegally that could cause you perhaps harm, that should not be flying with false identifications or no identification, and they haven't been vetted, then I don't know what to say. You got to have somebody. And these people are trained. They're more trained than the TSA employees.
Yeah.
They're more trained. They're more qualified. This is like a lower level for them. And that's for your safety. And to get you through the airport faster. So until they resolve this, he got people that we're already paying their salaries. So that's already been funded. So let them work until this problem is resolved. This is not a long-term solution. This is temporarily until the TSA employees start coming back to work and receiving a paycheck.
How are they not trained to handle the airport?
That's what they do. They're trained. They're trained for all of this. They're trained.
Say they're not trained or qualified.
Oh my God. TSA agents, they have more qualifications than an ICE agent. Wow. Wow. But see, what this person is saying, they'd rather for them not to be there. They'd rather have they say you got to get to the airport. They want you to get there 4 hours earlier, 3 to 4 hours earlier to try to get your flight. And flights are being canceled because there's not enough TSA agents. So you'd rather have that, and you'd rather have people getting on the planes that's flying around this country that are questionable, right? You feel safer like that. But see, you by yourself. As far as me and my house and my family that travels around the world over and over again, we want safety.
You know, ICE agents are consistently putting their life on the line doing that job, right?
And they're not masked at the airport. They don't have masks on. So the president asked them not to wear masks. So it's not like you don't know who they are. They're not masked. So that should be more comforting. But you have, as a leader, and if anybody on here are leaders, you know that leaders are supposed to solve problems. Like when you have a problem, you have to find a solution. So this is a temporary solution. And that's what leaders do. That's what they're expected to do. You have to do something. You have to do something. Now, as far as what's going on with Iran and all of this, I don't want boots on the ground because that's going to be more American lives that are going to be lost. And they got minefields. You're going to somebody else's country. They got land mines and all this kind of stuff. We're putting our American soldiers in danger. But, you know, we don't have control over that. The people that are elected to office, we have to put everything is in their hands. That we can voice our opinions. You can call your you want action, call your congressman or congresswoman and let them know what you want them to do. That you want to end the temporary shutdown. You want this war to be ended as soon as possible. Whether you want boots on the ground, you're able to voice your opinion because your vote matters. And when we get to votes, that Save America Act, what is it? Let me get statistics. I think 71% of Republicans or 90% of Republicans, they want the Save American Act. And I think it's 71% of Democrats. So the majority of Americans want people to show voter ID. And this is personally, I don't want someone that's not even a citizen of this country deciding my elections. I want my vote to matter. I don't want you voting when you have no right to vote. You're not even a citizen of this country. Your vote should not be deciding my election. Because, well, first of all, a lot of them don't even speak the language. They don't have our culture. They don't have the understanding. They haven't been here long enough to make these decisions.
Now Rob is saying they can't vote.
And they do. They do vote. Because there are states all throughout this country, that these blue states, that don't require voter ID. Yeah. They don't even ask for ID. So they can go in there and they can vote. You don't even have to show ID. You don't have to show ID. There are different states. I don't even know if it's Pennsylvania. I know New Jersey. I don't know about Chicago. It's Illinois. It's different states that don't have don't require. I know California doesn't. They don't have to have show their voter ID. And if you ask them for ID, you can be jailed. How about that? In California, you ask for ID, you can go to jail.
Are these people Americans? Because
they're not Americans.
Taken up for illegal.
No, they're not Americans. Because I can't go over China and I can't disrupt their election being a United States citizen. And because those illegal aliens, they still citizens of their countries. They're not citizens here. Wherever they came from Venezuela, you're still a citizen of Venezuela. You came from China, you're still a citizen of China. Wherever you came from, you are still a national citizen there that you can go back and vote. And I know I can't go to Russia, China, the UK, anywhere else and cast a vote in their elections. Nowhere can you do that. It doesn't make any sense. So when people act, I don't know what's wrong. They're not Americans to say that because there's no country have other people deciding their elections.
Rod must be happy with MS-13 and Trinidad and Tobago.
They're not from here, but they're not from here. They're not because American citizens, we're not used. We learn names that we never had to learn, like MS-13, Trinidad and Tobago. We got ISIS, we got 350 cartel, we got terrorists, we got everything here now that we didn't have before. Everything is here because of those open borders. We got 350,000 missing children. They don't even talk about them any longer. Those poor kids are in slavery and everything else. Nobody even talk about the children. So it's a lot that's going on inside this country and outside this country.
Rob, how about you go to the where was it, the DMV, and how it's not American citizens there.
Yeah, the DMV, especially in Florida, all they pay is $200. No driving test, nothing. Driving tractor trailers, and people have lost their lives. They giving them licenses. They're not taking no tests. They can't speak the language. They can't read the language, and they are driving. That's how you have all these accidents with illegals, and they unfortunately are killing people.
Now he's saying, I'm more American than you guys.
No, you're not. We already know because my people been over here over 400 years. How long have your people been here? You just got here because that's what you sound like. You sound like that because these are our rights. We're talking about our rights as American citizens. These are our rights. Our right is to vote. My people died to vote. That's a privilege to vote.
He sounds against America.
Women weren't even allowed to vote until, 1965, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act. That was, all those walks and all that fighting was done by the FBAs, the Foundational Black Community. And that's why the people that come into this country who are illegal, they're benefiting from what my ancestors have done for this country.
And Praying for the Left said, my friend got taken out by an illegal driver.
Yeah, this is what's happening. They try to ignore facts. They would still be alive. Yeah. How you going to justify giving people a license that can't even read the language? That's like me. I can't read calligraphy or Chinese language. I couldn't begin to read it. I don't even know how to write it. Then you have to be an artist to write their language or whatever. Yeah. So you can't read you can't expect them to follow signs and laws that they don't even know how to read.
Okay, Rick, you're just making that up. He said, my friend was saved by illegal immigrant.
Oh, you know what? You got the word in front of illegal. Let them become a citizen. Citizenship is offered to everyone around the world. You have to apply for it. But what the Democrats did, opening up the borders, people feel like they're entitled now to be here. And that's why they don't respect this country, because they haven't earned to be here. They want to still be like where they came from. They don't want to learn American culture and about being America. They want to be proud where they come from. Then go back to your country then. Go back to the country that you left. They fly every flag except for the American flag.
Look at New York City.
New York City is doomed. It's done. New York City is a shame that it's Gotham City without Batman. That's what New York is right now. So they got that. That's what America's becoming. But we can't be dumb and stupefied about what's going on. I mean, things have changed since the actions of that previous administration. And we never had to have these kind of conversations. We never had to talk about that Americans are facing difficult times because of the actions that the former party wanted. They were more concerned about establishing another voting bloc to keep them in office than the safety of American citizens. And that's a fact.
No, Jordan, you're misunderstanding.
I gotta get ready to get off.
He said, so once you enter this country, all of your culture should just be changed. That makes no sense.
You're not a citizen. Do you have a visa, green card? You're not a citizen. You're not a citizen. I mean, go to China and make that point. Please, go to Russia. Tell Putin that. You might be able to go to Ukraine because they need bodies, especially if you're a dude. They don't care who you are. They probably need you to fight in their war. But go to Switzerland. Go to Australia. Go tell them that. And make it make sense. It's like it sounds so dumb. Like it's such an entitlement. It's crazy. It's crazy. And the Democrats, they spend all their time fighting for the rights of non-citizens and the people that actually elected them into office. They don't even bring up American citizens. When the last time they visited American prison? And look at, is it a crime to commit murder in jail? Is that a crime? Does that change because you're in jail? Is it a crime to be raped in jail? Isn't that still a crime? You're already paying for what you did in society and you're there doing time. But is it okay to be assaulted? How come they don't visit our prisons, but they care more about the detainment centers? But when the last time, it doesn't make news, when the last time your congressman or woman visited a prison to look at the conditions that American citizens are subjected to while doing time? Why isn't the rapes being a concern? Why isn't it being reported? Why isn't it being stopped? Why aren't they visiting those prisons to check on the conditions that they're going? A lot of crap go on in these prisons.
Rob, you could try to say that all you want, but you just sound stupid. It's going to take years on years on years to fix what the Democrats have done.
What they have done, we even haven't begun to see the damage that's been done because of them. We already got $38 trillion deficit. The closest to us is Japan with $15 trillion. We have more than double any other country with a deficit. The Bank of America is closed. We have reached out and we have supported the world, but when we need help, nobody's there. And people keep wanting us to keep raining money on them. They want us to keep on giving money when we're not taking care of our own citizens. How many vets are out there on the streets? You think somebody that fought for this country that a non-citizen has more right than a vet? Because that's what's going on. They're getting the luxury apartments. They're getting $5,000 a month in cash benefits. They don't have to work. $5,000 a month. This is one person. They're getting $15,000 in food stamps. And I hope to God that's not per month. Nobody even eat like that. They got more privileges and rights than our vets who have fought and families, loved ones has been sacrificed for this country. And they're being given more. How many American citizens are living in vans and cars and on the streets and are being walked over and stepped over? But where's the fight for them when our taxpayer dollars goes to the world and not to our own? Make it make sense. Well, anyway, you guys, I'm going to jump off because these are all facts. And anybody that's in disagreement, they're not American citizen. Because you can agree to disagree. And you don't have to go along, because I don't go along with everything Trump say or anybody in any administration. I consider myself an independent thinker and independent voter. I'm not going along to get along. It's about the truth and what's best for all of us. That's the only way that we strive is when we all do well. And that's what I believe. Thank you, Endor. I'm sorry. We just can't sugarcoat it. And we can't bend because we don't serve man.
See, the big problem is people get so attached to their party.
Say that in the camera before I get off. Say.
A big problem is people get so attached to their party.
To the party.
They don't think about what actually will be good for society, for American people.
And that's what's going on. Yeah. They think it's disloyal to disagree. Like, I've been a Democrat, voting Democrat in elections. Straight down ballot like most black people. That's what I've been. That's what I've been doing. I campaigned hard for Biden, Obama, Hillary Clinton, all of them. I'm not talking I'm just a voter. I'm talking I'm a legislative director, director of publications and legislation. I mean, I'm in the room with President Biden, in the room. I'm in the room with Bernie Sanders. I'm in the room. So in my phone, I have congressmen and congresswomen, they cell phone numbers. And, they've been calling me because, part of Democrats, because I'm an organizer. I'm an activist. And I haven't been doing that because I had to step back when I see we keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. And they call that insanity. But that's what the Black community been doing. We got to make more demands. I'm not going along with neither party until they do something that they promise us. And last time they didn't even make promises. What, they're going to give Black men marijuana? They're going to have more abortions in the community? They brought the Planned Parenthood to the DNC. I wasn't down with that. I'm not down with how the Democratic Party has changed its stance. It's about non-citizens is number one, period. They don't even talk about period. They're about abortions. They're about transgenders. They're about same-sex marriages. They're about LGBTQ. That's what they're about. I'm not about all that. I'm about Jesus, period. I don't go along, and I was voting that way, and I got convicted. I said,
well, John,
I got to go with my own beliefs.
John, you could check this channel. There's footage of her greeting Joe Biden.
I could put all myself. I need to really show all the rooms and the people that I'm really associated with, that I step back.
Because he's like trolling, saying, oh, yeah, and I have Obama's phone number.
Well, no, don't nobody have no damn Obama phone number.
No,
but I've been active representing hundreds and thousands of people in the organization. I've given speeches. I've had probably at least 500 rallies at a minimum. Like I said, I'm an organizer. I've held national positions and state positions.
Rob, that right there just told us that you're a racist. Because now you're going to act like the 1994 crime bill Joe Biden did wasn't a big deal. Now we know you're just a racist.
Look, neither was the Ku Klux Klan that was started by the Democratic Party in Pulaski, Tennessee. Neither were they, right? Neither was Jim Crow that started from the Democratic Party. Neither was Joe Biden, the author of the 1994 crime bill that caused mass incarceration of Black people. Neither was the Democrats who filibustered the civil rights bill for over 70 days that the Republicans are trying to pass. The civil rights bill. Yeah, right, okay. That's a lot of things and information that Black people don't know. The party that we think that's for us has been the party that's been against us. It's been the Democratic Party that we are loyal to. 93% of us vote for the Democratic Party, and they don't do a damn thing for us. They do more for every other ethnicity than the Black community, but we hold a lot of weight and a lot of power, but we don't wield it the way that we should. But 2028, we're going to know who these people are. Amazing Lucas, he is a Democrat. He has, I forget what it's called, but I'll put it up, that he has a app or a website you can go to so you can learn in your area they'll show you the candidates' records, how they voted, and what they stand for. I forget his Vote American Act. I got to get that up because that's amazing that he has come up with something that you can check out the candidates, that you only have to put your zip code in, and they'll bring up your senators, and they'll show how people voted and what they stand for. And it has a lot of information they're going to offer about candidates in the future. I think that's a wonderful thing. And hopefully by 2028, they're going to expand it to local offices, which are they're extremely important because they affect you in your state and your local elections.
Thank you, praying.
What?
Rob, you're not replying to what I said. I said, I know you are a racist now because if you're acting like the 1994 crime bill wasn't a big deal, when he called Black people super predators, you're a racist.
Worse than an infidel.
Yeah.
And then they tell them where the Black fathers are. They lock them all up. And then they put Black women got to hold down the household. Then the kids are running the street and they wind up in jail. And then they try to label Black people as lazy when we built this country. All these stereotypes that's put on the community where they have done so much to keep it suppressed. By the time we find out, all the damage has been done. That's why the birth rate isn't where it should be. The men are in jail, and then they allow them to be raped in jail. Then they come out, and then they harm others. It's a cycle. that's been going on. They put drugs in the neighborhoods.
I mean, Joe Biden, he can speak for himself. He has a whole speech about the crime bill that you can watch.
And then with former Mayor de Blasio of New York, he had on pause. He said that was a bad thing to do. But he wasn't alone. The NAACP, who are trash, they supported it. And the Congressional Black Caucus, they had supported it. And now Byron Donalds, who is a freaking Uncle Tom, he gonna write one to lock up the black children.
Yeah.
Where he was locked up twice.
And Trump
and got a record, and now they got a second chance, and now he's in Congress and running for governor of Florida, and he don't want to give them another chance. So look at the president of the United States. He was convicted with 34 felonies, and look at where. But you don't want to give children a chance.
Yeah, and Trump called him out about it too at the debate.
Yeah, Trump called him out about the 1994, the harm that he did. But then this administration is turning around. They all doing the same damn thing. So right now, I'm an independent voter. You know, there's some good things on both sides, but they have to be about all Americans.
Yeah,
period.
someone talked about Lyndon B. Johnson.
Yeah, well, he said, Lyndon B. Johnson, that quote, I don't know it by heart, but it was something like that if white people can believe that they are better than a black person, then something about that you can pick his pocket. As long as they think they give the illusion that they're better or doing better, then you can pick his pocket at anything. Look up Lyndon B. Johnson, his quote. But Lyndon B. Johnson, I think he was the one at the time for the Civil Rights Act. He was the president at that time after the assassination of Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, or Robert F. Kennedy, one of them. But anyway, you guys.
Lyndon B. Johnson's support of expanding welfare.
Huh?
It said Lyndon B. Johnson was a big supporter of expanding welfare.
Well, the thing about welfare, the people that benefit from welfare were white people. The most people that's on welfare are white people. Welfare was created for white women, for when the men, I think it was 1935, whatever, when they went to war, then that was for them. I don't think that even black people were able even to apply for public assistance not until like the 60s, probably around the Civil Rights Act time.
Rob, each comment you're leaving is proving that you have no knowledge of Joe Biden's 1994 crime bill. That I could tell you don't even know.
Just Google it.
Yeah.
Look it up on YouTube.
He doesn't know what it is or what he
the effects that it had on the whole community. You're looking, it was a mass. You know what the word mass, look at the word mass. Ask ChatGPT what the word mass means. It was a mass incarceration. And not only did they do that, they over-sentenced me. It could have been a $9 theft and they got 30 years. Okay? No matter what. They were just locking them up, rolling out numbers like it was nothing. Public defenders, because they couldn't afford, the hired lawyers. A lot of stuff has happened. And people know we're living a day and a time. People who don't even like to read, just go to chat. We have AI now. AI will let you know in a matter of seconds. We got Google, we got Siri, we got Wikipedia. It's so many search engines that you can find out, and YouTube.
Someone said that's then.
You can find out so much information, but the word says people perish for lack of knowledge. People really want to stay blinded to the truth because they're comfortable there. That makes you comfortable. As long as the truth is held back from you, then you're comfortable there. That's all you can handle. And that's how some people are. And these are adults.
Yeah, that's the thing.
These are adults, so they can't handle the truth. They'd rather stay in bubble land and get misinformation and be lied to than tell them what they want to hear. That's their comfort level. So just look it up. Just for nobody's trying to convince you, look it up for yourself.
You still are showing that you don't know what the crime bill is.
They'll look it up one day, but that's on them. There's too many search engines that you can look stuff up. Go to Ground News. Go somewhere and find out real truth and real information. But I got to jump off of here. I got things to do. Anyway, you guys, don't forget to hit that like, share, subscribe to Speak the Truth 2.0, and subscribe to my channel, Speak the Sports, and pray till all here. We're going to put it in the description, and my son been lacking putting in there, and with our Instagram, our Cash app. So show your support. At the very least, y'all, you can always super chat us whenever you want to, but hit the like. Because YouTube, they send the way YouTube operates, they don't care how large or how big the channels are now. They change the rules. But they go by participation. They go by people hitting the like. And that's why we continually ask people in the comments so that they would send the video out so people will find the channel. So at the very least, this isn't monitored, it's free by you hitting the like button. You know, whether you agree to disagree is still great communication, and that's what it's supposed to be about. Okay, you guys. So anyway, God bless you. Thank you, Endure. We love you as always. And we got to jump off of here. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. I want to get some other footage up. I'm tired of just showing Trump, but it's like we're so busy with life. That's the only thing I can get up quickly. But we want to talk about different issues. We want to hear from you guys. We want to read your comments. Like doing the chat is like we have thousands of comments. But after we come down, you know, we have the live up. And once that comes down, we're not getting the comments. So we're going to do. Well, I had said the poll before. Let's see. You can read it.
Do you support ICE replacing TSA agents at airports? 43% said yes, and 57% said no.
And they can't be American. What American don't want safety at the airport? Yeah. God help us all. I am glad y'all not running this country. Jesus Christ. So anyway, you guys, thanks for responding to the poll. God bless you. Peace out. And we'll see you guys on the next slide. Thank you for all your comments. You know, we like you guys chatting it up in the chat. And y'all, you know, y'all can, you know, agree to disagree with one another. So God bless you.